Hey guys, Talos here. There's a couple of videos from that out there ranting about what's going on right now with Forza. So I figured I'd cover a few topics. The main one, the title is Multiplayer Dead, and I'll go into that in a video explaining what's kind of going on and what the problem is and how I think it should be resolved. The other problem is the GT4 class. Way underbaked. Yeah, way underbaked. I'll leave a link in the description to Erratic's video, his little rant. And, I don't quite entirely agree with him on the amount of hoppers, but I can go into further detail when I talk about it. And then the other thing I'll do in this video is I will include tunes for the KTM crossbow, the Ginetta, and the if you're going to run out of time, I'm sorry, but the next time prototypes come up for the Porsche 963, I have one, and one for the Caddilac too. I have one for that. That one's not very good, but compared to the Porsche, but that car's really hard to tune. So without further ado, let's jump into an endurance race, and I'll talk about why multiplayer seems dead, what the problem is, and what Turn 10 could kind of do to fix it, and talk matchmaking at the same time, because matchmaking is part of the problem, why lobbies don't get billed, and how it's doing it. But it's not the only issue. And then after that, I'll talk about GT4s and GT4 race. So stick with me, and we'll have a discussion. All right, guys, we're going to talk about is multiplayer dead. As you can see right now, I am in a endurance lobby, and there's 4 people here. Now this is kind of European time, and Forza's player base is mostly the US base. It'll probably fill up a little bit, but that's been a bit of a problem. Like I think I said earlier, I'll have a link to Erratic's video down below. Finding lobbies that are full are a bit of a problem, and wow, you can see people are already quitting. We barely start, because what happens is people start lobby hopping. So I'm guessing you're going to lead into my first discussion. Is multiplayer actually dead? So we're going to leave this lobby. We're going to do a little bit of lobby hopping ourselves. I want to show off Road Atlanta, so I'll end up doing this during practice. All right. So in Erratic's video, he kind of complains about there being so many hoppers, and PJ Tierney is a guy I've known for a while. He also works at Codemasters, and he says the same thing. We've got 10 events. We've got Road to Race, Endurance, Spotlight. Forza GT3 isn't available yet. That's in 33 hours. But Forza GT, Forza Formula Mazda, touring cars, and then we got multi-class open A, C, D, B, S, and C. And of course, the crux of what they're arguing is that there's just too many events. And I agree, there are too many events, but there's not a lot of crossover between GT guys. They race GT classes. They might do spec racers do spec racing, and there's some crossover between touring cars and the GTs. But for the most part, spec racers don't do open class. Open class tend to be your more casual players. These are short races, except for the medium multi-class races. And then the spec guys run spec races. But, Forza, people want more options, but at the same time, as a player, you are the content to be able to race other players, and if we're spread too thin. Now, do I think 10 is too much? It might be just about right. Forza's player base on Steam was like 500, but I'm going to show you the crux of the issue, and we'll start with the Endurance series here. You'll see you got Road Atlanta, Suzuka, Nürburgring, Kyalami, in Road America. These are hour-long races. I want you to look at the entry start times. The 5th race on this list is 50 minutes from entry. That means when this race ends, the 20-minute practice, so this race will end in about an hour and 10 minutes. The practice for this will almost be over. That's 5 events in just that one hopper. And if you go into medium races, it overlaps with 3. You'll miss 2 races and have to get into the 4th. If you go into short, you'll end up missing 1 race. Hold on. You'll end up missing 1 race. So that's 2. And what that does, oops, I didn't mean to do that. What that does is it creates a problem. Let's go back here into Rotolanders. I want to show it off a little bit, at least during practice. It takes 10 hoppers and turns it into 27, effectively 37. Because usually when you get out, you don't jump right into the next. There are people that do that, but you don't. Because of the way Forza's system works, if you jump in at the last minute, you'll end up in a hopper with barely any people, like 2, 3, 5 people. So most people like to at least jump in when there's 8 to 10 minutes left in entry time, and we're going to talk about that problem. But the issue here is that creates. I'm going to do the LMP. I might actually start the race, but I'll be one of those jokers who don't finish it because I don't have time. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get this video out. But, so, we got 37 hoppers. Steam's only got 500 players. If you went just on Steam numbers alone, that's not enough to fill the whole hopper. That's... every hopper wouldn't have enough for 24 players. Now, Steam isn't correct because you have console players, you have PC players that buy through the Xbox store like me, because then I can play on console or PC. And then you have Game Pass players who can play just about anywhere, right? So, the numbers are actually a lot bigger. I think PJ said it's probably 5 to 10 times that number. I'll be conservative, say 2,000. But with 37 simultaneous events going on at once, that's... I'll do a little bit of math thought experiment here. That means they would need it just to fill one hopper, one lobby in each event. Was it 20, 37, 740, somewhere in the 900 range, playing on multiplayer and evenly spread, and that's not how that works. And let's jump into practice here, and I'll talk a little bit about that. So the first issue is they might need to cut the spotlight car and some of the road to race stuff, but honestly, the overlap, there should not be event overlap. I'm going to show off Road Atlanta a little bit here. It's at night, but we'll see if we actually get any players in this lobby. But you notice, I'm in a new lobby. I jumped in at 8 minutes. Now, I had jumped in earlier just thinking I was going to do all this on the road, and I was in a different lobby, like you saw. So it keeps creating new lobbies. Now, you would say, well, yeah, it wants to sort you into your safety and rating bucket, and that's a separate problem we'll talk about a little bit later with matchmaking, because matchmaking actually plays in with the problem. The poor matchmaking system plays into why you can't fill lobbies. I got medium. Oh, wow, medium's in 39 laps worth of fuel. I'm not going to do that great like that. So let's jump out real quick. We'll lower the fuel and put some sauce on. But you got too many races, too much overlap, and that's a. And because of the way the rating system works. Let's do a quick lap of Road America so you can, or Road Atlanta, which is the new track, so you can at least see it. It's at night. I don't know if there's anybody on the road. I don't think so, because this lobby just isn't full enough. So the way Forza's matchmaking system works is they're kind of reinventing the wheel. And the problem is it doesn't work. not with the player base we have, right? So it throws you in a lobby, and then as more players get added as it goes, you get an average rating. Now, the thing is like when you have a peak player hours in a popular lobby, like say GT3 or GT2, you can lobby hop and be in a different lobby each time. So I can end up in like 4 or 5 different lobbies, all that have a range of 5 to 12 players. Now, if it was separating by safety and rating, with 4 to 5 to 12 players in the lobby, I should end up in the same lobby to say each time, right? Because my rating and safety would determine what lobby I go into. But in effect, it's kind of random, and it's not even filling the lobbies. And there's me not really driving real fast here, but let me kind of look at my notes here. So part of the issue is Forza's rating system doesn't work. You gain rating way too fast, and you end up with everybody being rated like 4,900 or higher. Not everybody, but probably the vast majority of online players who play with any sort of regularity. I've been rated 49.99, the max rating now, since basically within a month of release. That is insane. I think I actually had it within 2 to 3 weeks. I was 49, and now it's probably even easier because so many players are rated 49.99. If you're racing them, you're going to gain tons of rating just for being in their lobby. The system just doesn't work for determining your rating, but because it fills lobbies as you go, it's not even filling the lobbies, and it's not putting you in the right lobbies. Like, I'll never be in a lobby with probably 20 to 30% of the online player base at 49.99, yet I'll never end up in a lobby that's all 49.99 players, even if there is enough of those players playing, because we all end up getting spread out. My solution to this is Forza needs to stop matchmaking for practice. And practice is one of those things where it's a great feature, but you know, it basically not everybody likes to jump in at the same time. So not everyone wants to do 20 minutes of practice for a short race. It might be 8 minutes, or a medium race that might be 15 minutes. You know, they want to. Some players like to jump in, you know, just jump in and race. They might want to jump in with just enough time to qualify, but now you're discouraged from joining at the last moment because you might end up in a lobby that doesn't even have enough people in it to run it. What they need to do, and this is the only way they're actually going to build the lobbies, stop the race overlap. Even with 10 hoppers, that would go a massive way. You should only have like the short races. That's a race every, 8 minutes. Just have it set so that when you get out of it, you have like 5 minutes, before the next event ends. That gives you 8 minutes of practice. And same thing with these endurance hoppers. I get it. Everyone likes track varieties, and tracks will just skip. But at the same time, the player base is just so split. Players aren't playing it. And so if you do matchmaking at the end of practice, what that does is it allows you to jump in at the end of a session. You'll still end up in the same lobby, because now it's doing matchmaking for the whole event instead of just as you go. And the advantage of that is that it will tend to fill up the lobbies based on the event. So if you have, let's say, 120 people join an event, you'll end up with 5 full lobbies, because it'll split everyone off into 5 splits at the maximum number of people it can put in that lobby. At worst, you'll have a lobby of 12 people, right? Because if you have, let's say, 25 people, that doesn't fit in a 24 lobby, it'll split it into 12 and 13. If you have just enough for 3 lobbies, so we'll say 49, right? You'll end up with the lobby split into lobbies of 16 and 17. So even worst case scenario, you're going to have 12 to 13 people in a lobby regardless, because it's doing the whole player base, the event. The only way an event will have less than 12 is literally if no one joins that event. Not driving very well here. I'm not really paying attention because I might be the only person in this lobby. But now also you give people an incentive to keep coming back, because it'll actually split people off based on their rating. So if you have, 15 guys in an event that are rated 4999, that means they'll all be in the same lobby for sure. Instead of being, one guy ended up in one lobby because he joined at the beginning of practice. A couple other guys may have ended up together as they joined in the middle of practice, or might have still ended up in separate lobbies. And other guys ended up in different lobbies because they joined at the last moment, right? So that's part of the problem right there. Is you're not getting competitive lobbies because it's not splitting them properly. And you're not getting full lobbies. And I can tell you, just because I've done lobby hopping, oh look, I am literally the only person who stuck around. And I'll be quitting too, because I have something I need to go do. So that's good. I won't ruin anybody's time. So basically, and part of the reason multiplayer like the GT4 Class feels dead is the endurance hopper is siphoning off GT players. GT players aren't interested. They're not as interested in GT4s. They're more likely to drive, a prototype. Oh, let's just do softs, 8 laps by myself. They're more likely to drive prototypes like this than they are to drive GT4s. GT4s and touring cars have more in common in terms of fan base interest than GT3s, the GT2 hoppers do. Man, so. Is it dead? I don't think Forza suddenly lost players. There's just more lack of interest in GT4s. So one idea that's been floated is like, well, why don't you make it multi-class and race it with GT2s? And then, the endurance hopper right now, because it is prototypes and GT cars, is siphoning off players from the player base. So we'll just, I'll leave you with a quick lap. Oh, I say a quick lap. There's no rubber down. You can feel how slick the track is. But in actual paying attention to, driving Road Atlanta. Road Atlanta's a great track. The curves are a bit dicey. I think bump and rebound have become way more important in terms of handling curves than actually, instead of about how your car drives, because if they're even a little off, curves will want to kill you. And some curves, no matter what your bump and rebound settings, will try to kill you. But lovely track. Multiplayer isn't dead, but they need to grow it. They need to fix the stability problems, and they need a real matchmaking system. And real matchmaking is really what I want to talk to you about. And we'll do that if I can find an endurance hopper with actual people in it. So I'll see you in the next race. This is Road Atlanta, real cool track. This is in the prototype, so I'll share that tune here at the end. And now I'm just rambling to fill time. So, all right, I'll see you in the next one. We're going to talk matchmaking and some of the things they can do to solve this perceived population issue and provide better competitive racing. All right, yeah, you can see it's all at different times of the day and different days. Let's continue our discussion a bit on matchmaking. I'll keep my little notes here. I'm gonna literally there's only 13 people in here. There was more, but I guess people didn't want to do it. I'm gonna start. Well, then I gotta pit right away. So then, that's all right. We're talking about multiplayer being dead. And then matchmaking. Matchmaking's kind of irrelevant. Everyone I know is, and I hope to have like a bunch of infographics and stuff to show you. And I talked a little bit about the buckets and the way it fills lobbies at the same time. But if everybody's rated 4,900 plus, then what does it really matter? I'm gonna actually hit pause button and let everyone go here. What does it really matter if everybody? There's only 2 LMPs in here anyway, so I'll let everyone go and then let everyone by. Though seemingly, no one's gonna go past me. There we go. People are going by. If everyone's rated that high, there's going to be a need of rating reset. My suggestion, which I'll link below, is that they actually, expand rating to 1,700 and leave everyone rated where they are now. That makes 5,000 rating effectively 2,000. So that would, in effect, I'm still waiting to go down the list, right? I think I'm far enough down. All right, everybody's gone. So by making it, effectively 2,000, but then people wouldn't feel like they lost progression, right? Now, just that they gotta, progress farther. But you don't want to do that until you actually have rated lobbies that matter, and you shouldn't be able to gain more than anywhere from 80 to 100 points in a single session. Right now, you can make jumps of 400, 500, 1,000. That's way too much. You should have to kind of work to earn it, but max rating should be pretty much impossible to actually do. You shouldn't be able to get it. I'm gonna have to hit real quickly. I'll actually do a few laps. I can get most out of these soft, so whatever. We'll let home dude get a big lead. I don't expect a whole lot. I mean, multi-class could be really cool. I don't think there's enough people playing right now. The Europeans are still in work to actually fill these lobbies, but I've seen some fuller lobbies than this. Oh wow, you just let me by. I was going to be patient. I'm just, chilling and taking my time here. If you want matchmaking working, you want it to fill lobbies, and you gotta stop trying to reinvent the wheel. I'll have to wait to get past these guys, but just do LFM what LFM did for ACC. ACC is a much more niche market than Forza is, and yet LFM, Low Fuel Motorsports, is a rating system for ACC servers that is outside of the game itself, and it increased the popularity, especially in the esports world, of ACC by a ton. We're taking our time here. You don't want to freak out the GT players too much. And this is really cool. Endurance is really cool, but for the most part, it has no meaning in the rating system. So, who really wants to spend an hour of their time and not quit? If the rating system doesn't matter, then these guys are fighting. I'm not going to get in their battle. If the rating system doesn't matter, then why spend a whole hour in a race if it doesn't matter? So people just quit. So I'm not going to say they should penalize people yet. You need to get the popularity. You need a working rating system to begin with. All right, here should be my chance to get by these PT cars. Just taking my time. Sunday stroll. Let him take his full line. Then I'll go by him right here. Alright. Yeah, we passed the GT cars. So, it kind of, you need the rating reset, right? But until they actually have a working system, there's no point in it, because then you'll just end up with the same problem you have now. When I say rating reset, I think the expansion's a better idea. So, first of all, like I said earlier, you need to do matchmaking at the end of practice, and not by qualifying time. that's too abusable. People will not qualify, or they'll do a bad qualifying time to get a low-end lobby just to get easy wins. It's still got to be done by rating and by safety, but you want it done at the end because that takes all the players from the whole event and puts them all in one bucket to be split up into proper splits. And if there's not that many people in an event, they all get put in the same lobby. That happens in iRacing. But Forza really has a chance to kind of be the iRacing or, in competitor GT Sport if it had a working rating system. They don't want to do everything the same, and I get that. I think this practice idea is great. But since the lobbies are effectively random right now, just let practice be random lobbies, and then when people do qualifying, make sure the rubber is all the same so that qualifying is fair. But then do the matchmaking after practice by rating, by safety, so regardless of when you enter practice, if it's at the very end where you don't even get a chance to qualify, or if it's at the very beginning, you're going to end up in the exact same lobby against the exact same people that you're rated against. What that does is it puts you in a lobby that is more competitive, that has people around your pace, and if there's enough people, hopefully people around your safety rating. And it gives you, as long as there's like 50 people in the whole event, it gives you a full lobby. I mean, it doesn't take that many people to actually fill a lobby, so you got to fix the rating system. I encourage you to go vote on the link I put below, because without that, the whole thing just doesn't work. And, I'm going to end up passing these guys, and there won't be much interesting that happens until after this. So quit trying to reinvent the wheel. We need votes, because that's what Forza is paying attention to. They're paying attention to what people vote in the suggestion forums, but there's not many people going on the official forums and voting. They just get upset, and either they quit or they don't like it, so they don't even bother, right? Taking it easy, nice little stroll. I'll show you a quick lap once I get a chance. I could have pushed it to get past them, but I'll just stay back. Here we go. We'll make the path right here. Alright, so the leader's 9 seconds ahead of me. We'll chase him down. But yeah, so alright, I'm taking a quick look at my notes while I'm in the game. It starts too many new lobbies as it is, right? It's like, why, if I leave a race and enter it, am I put in like a new lot, assuming there's more enough people each time? I should keep ending up, if the rating system was working, in the same lobby. So I know the lobbies are effectively random because the system just isn't working. And and you can say, oh, well, there's just not enough players in an event. I'm sorry, if I end up in 5 different lobbies, a player is 5 to 12 people, I mean, come on, that right there is somewhere in, we'll say, an average of like 8 to 9 players. That right there, 8 times 5 is 40 to 45 players. That's enough for 2 full lobbies almost. So there's no real reason to actually, there's no real reason for them to say there's enough players. There are enough players playing Forza. It doesn't take that many to get this right. I mean, ACC limits the LFM limits the amount of players that can be in a single event. I think 450 at 32 cars a lobby. That's like 15 lobbies the servers can handle. I don't even think we have enough right now to do that in this game. But oh my gosh, I'm already almost about the leader. So that's my feel. We want to fix multiplayer feeling dead. Then for one, you probably want to cut a couple lobbies, hoppers. stop overlapping the races. I know you get in there, you don't want to jump in right away. I've had this discussion with people. You know, I would rather wait 20 minutes for a race and know there's going to be players in it than end up in a jumping right away and end up in a non-competitive lobby that has like 5 or 6 players in it. It just, the whole thing doesn't make sense. And now I'm ranting because, you know, it's just important to me. It's like we want the game to feel alive. And I think, you know, if they get it to work properly, the racing Forza can be a blast. Like, this car feels amazing on a wheel. It really does. Oh, I say, was he trying to let me by? Or is he defending? No, he's just letting me by. He doesn't even want to battle me. Sorry, buddy. Keep an eye on my fuel. I don't know if I'll have enough to do another full lap. Yeah, we'll just stay here. So there you have it. I've been ranting. You don't want the, you know, there are enough players in Forza for, you know, Erratic went 6 hours trying to find a decent lobby. You know, lower the hoppers, you know, and stop the race overlap, and you just cut, you know, let's say lower the hoppers by 1 or 2. Not even a major amount, just say 2, right? So we have 8 hoppers and no race overlap. Suddenly we've gone from 37, oh, I missed my, we've gone from 37 events down to 8. That's gonna pull the players a lot. And there'll be some people upset, but more people will be really happy. And then if you fix the rating system to actually rate people properly, you know, by actually making it so that you can't hit the max level, I should not be max rated right now. There are players 1.5 seconds faster than me a lap, and there are players that are 3 to 4 seconds a lap slower than me that are all rated 4999. That's too much, and it's too easy. So, I fix the rating system, get the players in the proper splits that fill the lobbies based on the total number of players in the whole event. Quit trying, and if practices, you know, random lobbies, that's okay. I really like the practice lobbies and the qualifying system, you know, and I think it's perfect for private lobbies. But there you have it. I'm gone on long enough. Click the links down below and let me know what you think. And I would let you know how this race ends, but I've got a feeling that I'm going to run out of time before I have to go take care of stuff, school stuff, in my car, and lots going on. I got surgery to remove my port this week. It's pretty crazy. So you guys take it easy. And then, you know, let's talk about GT4s next, and then I'll do the tunes. All right. Thanks. Hello guys, we are about to do a GT4 race. We're going to talk about this class. This class is a little underbaked. Nothing against GT4s, but you know, as a GT guy, I don't mind driving them occasionally, but to me, GT4s kind of go with touring cars. So guys that like touring cars are more likely to like GT4s. We're going to go to the back at the start of this race and then go from there. But yeah, there's only 3 cars in the class. One of those is not even, let me see if I can find one. Yeah, here we go, the Audi. And this car is gonna die on tires. This guy's doing a hard no stopper, I guess. Good luck, buddy. So pace wise, it's not too far. It's pretty close to the Ginetta and the Crossbow, but it's not a GT4 car, and it's created this kind of, let me get my notes here, weird situation where the GT4 cars have more grip and in many cases more downforce than even the more grip and downforce than even the GT3s, GTE cars do, even with max builds, which So overall, the class is just wow. Everyone's taking up. I'm trying to wait for everyone to go by. Let them get out there. Don't feel like being in any carnage. All right, we're in last place. Only 11 people in this race. There's a couple quick guys in here, so I don't expect to win, but they're quick enough. But yeah, the best car is pretty much the Crossbow, but the Ginetta is not too bad. I would say, you know, some minor tweaking, they might be able to get the two cars close. The Ginetta's better on top end than the Crossbow. But the thing is, these two GT4 cars, there's only 3 cars in the class altogether, which disappoints a lot of people. Ooh, you're a little slow there, bud. We're gonna have to brake here for this guy. You get by one. Great. And the 2 GT4 cars they have are not the most recognizable GT4 cars. You know, if you were to watch an IMSA or international GT4 race, these, wow, there's someone way off the way over there. If you were to watch a race, you most likely would not see the Ginetta or the KTM Crossbow, even if you went back and historically watched like old YouTube videos. So they're not even recognizable GT4 cars for most people, you know. And the disappointing thing about this is Forza 7 had the Porsche Cayman GT4, a really popular GT4 car. You'd kind of expect that car to be in the class. And it's not even in the game. You know, they really should have had the Porsche Cayman, which they had in Forza 7, and a new to Forza GT4. Part of the problem is the car voting roster on the suggestion forums doesn't delineate between GT4s, GT3s, GTEs. It'll say like Aston Martin, right? So you get one of the 3 cars. So the Aston Martin GTE, the new V8 Vantage, is being released this month, right? And now the Aston Martin Vantage is closed. So will you ever see an Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT4? Not likely. You know, so they're totally different cars in how they behave. Wow, I am not used to going this slow. So overall, the class is just really underbaked. All right, give me a moment here. He challenged me in the corner, but I knew there was no way he was going to be able to carry. Especially if he's on hard tires. One of these guys is on hard tires. Or maybe just on hard tires because, you know, the Audi GT burns through them. It just isn't balanceable in the class, and it's created a situation which, in order to balance the Ginetta and the KTM, you've given these cars ridiculous amounts of grip. It makes them easy to drive, but on some tracks, they're as fast as the GT2 class, which is another story. The GT2 class GTE cars which is GTE cars, are slower than the GT3 cars, which historically makes no sense. And that's part of the problem with the classes, is that they just don't make sense for motorsport fans. So there's like a cognitive dissonance. And then you take a GT4 class, which just isn't that popular amongst GT racers. It'll be more popular amongst guys who drive the touring cars. And right now, a lot of, GT4 guys who might be driving GT4 are being siphoned off by the endurance hopper, because in the endurance hopper you can drive GT2s and prototypes. I would say most of us that drive the GTEs and the GT3s would probably prefer to drive the prototypes. We don't just, everything in this is just so slow, which is fine. It's GT4. But, But yeah, some of these GT4s, because they have so much handling on some tracks, are ridiculously quick. They're low on top end, but, that's fine. Super easy to drive. We're doing a medium soft strategy here. Yeah, I'm not driving overly great here, but got a little bit of practice in. I shouldn't have braked there. I should be able to just lift for that corner. So I like to brake a little early and just carry speed through the corner. A lot of guys brake really late into it. It's probably quicker, but oh well. We're just taking it easy. Yeah, you know, for a little bit, these cars are fun to drive. I saw a suggestion from was it Blown Piston Motorsport? Woo! That, you know, maybe they should have multi-class this with P2s. Not necessarily a bad idea. I actually got a suggestion in the forums for that. For GT4s, like just kind of permanently multi-class GT3s, GT2s with prototypes, Proto H class, and the P2s, or is it P2s with the GT4s. The 30-minute races, it means you'd have to pass traffic. You'd have to take ghosting out to make it mean anything, but that you know, goes back to the problem we were talking about earlier, right? That there's just not enough players right now. Forza's got like a broad, great ideas, but the whole system isn't set up to support handily yet. Not properly, and it, you know, and if players can't get competitive races, then, you know, they'll just go elsewhere. Alright, this guy's a little quicker, so okay. A little bit of contact. He was pretty respectful there. I'll give him that to him. Needs a bit of work. I'll share it with you guys if you want to use it. And, you know, make some adjustments to make it work for you. I've got it set up pretty loose because I want to as much rotation as possible, but I think it's a little too loose. Alright, now we settle in. We're in third place. Oh, he's already pitting. I'm gonna probably go to lap pit after this lap. Let's see where I'm at. I think I can make it 7 laps on soft. So if he's pitting at 9, that means he's probably staying on mediums. This guy in front of us is actually the second place guy. Let's see, 7 times 7, yeah, could be able to make it 7 laps. A little bit of minor wear. See if I don't miss the pit. Alright, getting to the pit, so softs. Alright, got enough fuel. You know, this can be fun, but the player base isn't quite supporting it, and it's a disappointing class just because there's not much variety. I mean, I'm all about balance. We talked about, I have multiple, you know, I have a couple balance suggestions in the forums, and balance to me is really important, but making it basically a 2-car class, and for people who like to suffer in the TT, like this poor guy right here, probably on hards. took a little bit of time, but that's life. He's coming out. Taking a little space. All right, you got ahead of me. He went the extra lap because he doesn't want to deal with any tire wear. But you know what? I'm pretty good at driving with minor tire wear. Oh, off track. How bad is it? 0.7 seconds. Ouch. That's what I get for pushing it. I'll get away from it eventually. Get in the corner. Slow. A little bit of arrow walk home. I'll get away from it eventually here. Pushing hard. He does not like the fact that I'm ahead of him. I'm getting a little ground there. Kill his giveaway strap. Alright. I have an interesting finish if I can catch the guy in front of us. Oh, not going to do it doing that. There's some sort of, besides the arrow wash effect, and there's all kinds of problems with the game, right? In terms of stability, in terms of single player, but you know, I'm more focused on multiplayer because that's what I do. And they just have so much potential to basically be the iRacing of the casual player. You know, the player that just wants to pick up a controller and play. Ooh, almost went a little wide there. It's going to be tough to pass this guy. Even if I... Gotta be careful of that curve. I didn't take enough of it. You gotta angle it. So, I mean, that's my spiel on the GT4 class. Way underbaked, way too early. Should have waited till at least they had the Porsche came in. Probably the Porsche came in and a new to Forza GT4 car. So, let's finish up this race. In this draft, here we go. Let's just stay on this. Make him nervous. I can actually challenge him. I want him to think I'm going. I want him to make that mistake. there we go. Let's finish. There you have it. Underbake Forza. Get more GT4s. Consider adding P2s to them. Put them in the either alternating with touring cars maybe, because touring car guys are more likely to like the GT4s, you know. But is what it is. I'm sure some touring guys tell me I'm wrong, like that you wouldn't like the GT4s, but 49s are totally possible in the KTM. I don't know about the Ginetta, but yeah. All right, we'll move on to the tunes. How about that? All right, guys. I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of my Ginetta and KTM GT4 tunes. So, jump in here. You can see I'm on the Ginetta. This is my Ginetta tune. I'm just going to go through it real quick. Pause at each screen. So here's tire pressures. Here's my gearing. Here's my alignment. Anti-roll bars. Springs and ride height. Damping. Suspension geometry. Aero. Brake pedals, yeah, it's 44. You're getting this car to rotate and brake. You could probably go lower than that. This car understeers quite a bit. Acceleration and deceleration. And then force feedback scale and steering lock range at 70. Remember, I have a 900 degree of rotation. So if your wheel is at 1080, you would need to go lower than 70. Probably 60. You can do the math. But set your wheel at 900 and do 70 steering lock. That's 630. All right, we'll leave this. We'll switch cars. Go to the KTM. Here's the KTM. This car is a bit oversteery. You could definitely, you know, I'll tell you what to do to reduce the oversteer. I get along with it fine, but even me, I'm probably going to lower the oversteer on it a bit. But I want to get this out. So tire pressures, gearing, alignment. Yes, that is a 0.1 on the rear. That's you get it to rotate at not negative 0.1. That's to get it to rotate at high speeds, because it does tend to understeer at higher speeds, and I found that's really effective to get the rear to rotate around. But it has a big impact. So now the car is still stable, but it is a bit finicky. So anti-roll bars, I haven't determined 126. I'm probably going to drop that to like 20 or a little lower. Springs, there's the springs and ride height. Damping, if you notice, I'm pretty close to default damping. I found that handles the curbs pretty much the best. I've done a lot of testing on it. Suspension geometry, another thing. I'll probably lower the rear center roll a little bit, give it a little more stability. Downforce, you can see there's a lot of rear downforce. Brake balance, 48. I always use 120 for my brake pressure with GT cars. And acceleration 62, you can lower that also to make it a little more stable, especially on throttle. Don't want to go too low though, because then you'll start spinning up your inner rear tire and that will wear it out. And deceleration 17 can probably go up a little bit on that just to make it, because it's a really quick car to turn in low speed corners. Raising that will help a little bit at low speed corners, not like snapping out on you. And then force feedback scale 105. I actually feel it's kind of weak. I could probably go a little higher on that. And steering lock range at 80. It's so quick that, you know, 720 is fine for it. So there you go. There's my tunes for Ginetta and the KTM Crossbow GT4. Okay, guys, here is my tune for the Porsche 963 LMDH in the Forza Proto H category. It's probably the best car in the category, so it's almost a one make series. I'll show you the Caddilac as well if you want to challenge yourself. It's about, depending on the track, just over a second to a second and a half slower lap than the Porsche is. So let's take a quick look at the Porsche. I really was surprised that the tire pressures were this high. Usually with such light vehicles, you tend to go a little lower in tire pressures, but you know, I found the car gets a little too slidey if you go much lower than this, 27, 29. Gearing, you might need to extend 6th and 7th gear a little bit and maybe 5th for Le Mans and Daytona. Especially if you're running lower aero. This is kind of set up for other tracks where you don't quite reach those high speeds. Alignment, it's pretty standard here. I do find the LMPs tend to run lower camber rates, which I thought was a little odd, but that's the case. Definitely set the car up to be a bit more. It has a lot of aero balance towards the front, so you can easily, just by turning the steering wheel, to pull the rear end out. So we're gonna we made this car a little understeery. And you'll notice too, the springs are really stiff, and the damping bump is really high. But this was to take Eau Rouge safely, and I found it works. It still bounces a bit up Eau Rouge, but you can take it flat, and it's pretty safe. Again, you can see with my center rolls, a little understeery. I've debated playing with the anti-dive, but I got the car working well, so we'll been leaving it there. For aero, I find that these cars really like to have rear aero on them. So generally, keep the front and the rear pretty close. I found, if you keep it even on this car, it works pretty well. You could probably go as low as 66. Especially at a track like Road America where you need to get around the carousel. Brake balance 47, and brake pressure, I could have swore I set that to 150. With LMDHs, you can really give, at high speeds, you can give them a lot of brake pressure. You can go up to 150 on these cars. Acceleration 51, decel 15. And then force feedback 112, and yes, steering lock at 50. All right, that is my Porsche car. Now let's take a quick look at the Cadillac. So yes, this car is utterly weird, and yeah, that's where the tire pressure is kind of at 22, 29. It just does not put much pressure on the fronts. So the fronts really, I don't know, man. This car understeers so badly. It's like it has, and part of that is the aero package, and you'll see that here soon. Again, with the gearing, might need to go up on 6th and 7th gear for Le Mans and Daytona. Camber, negative. Yeah, it did a lot to try and get this car to rotate. Again, just like the KTM, 0.1 on toe and the rear. And hold on a sec. Sorry about that. Again, let's continue on with the 0.1 to get the rear to rotate. It's really a pain to get this car to rotate. 110. You don't want to go too much. You can get pretty snappy if you go too high on the rear with this car. Again, you can see my springs. Everything's set for oversteer because to get this car to rotate. Pretty high bump, just like the Porsche. Roll center, you see I maxed out the rear. Front gives you quicker turn in, but you don't want to go too low on it because it'll make the car snappier. You see my anti-squat to get it rotate on throttles all the way up to 40. And this is part of the crux issue. 689, the Porsche had 876 on the front. This only goes to 689. This and the rear can go up to 900. But I found if you go lower than 700, the car understeers at high speed for some reason. But if you go any higher really than 700, the understeer gets worse again. So this is kind of the way I found to get the kind of max rotation I could out of the car. But it still understeers a lot. Brake balance 40, yeah. Again, trying to get this car to rotate. And acceleration, you know what? I wouldn't go 35. I think I had it 50. 50 would be a good call with this car. 50-12. So 50-12. That was a bit of an experiment I was doing. It didn't really work out. I ended up burning up my inner rear tires, and I tried 100 acceleration too, and it didn't help the oversteer issue at high speed. And this is the crazy part. Steering lock 35, that is 420 degree rotation. That is the lowest I've had in this game, but that's the only way the car responds to the steering wheel. It might be actually more accurate for most endurance cars. Force feedback scale at 105. So there's the Cadillac.